Today's topic is useContext. If you haven't used context, I can tell you that it's not a hard concept. Let's say the hierarchy of your app is growing vertically in size, and the box tree wants to consume username data. And yes, we can pass this data until it reaches the box tree, but we can avoid bothering other components which don't really need this user data by using context hook. Before jumping to the code, let's understanding a few things about the context hook. First thing we need to know, createContext function. It basically creates a context object, and this default value passed will be used when the component doesn't have the matching provider. Then what is provider? The context object created by createContext contains this provider, and it allows consuming components to subscribe to the context changes. So the value is required, and this passed value will be consumed from the components that are descendants of this provider. And this data consumer, which is the descendant of the provider, will re-render whenever the provider's value property changes. We will see this in the examples later. Next is context hook. It accepts the context object and returns the context value. Going to the code example. So I have this mock user data in this container called context, which returns box 1, and I'd like to consume this user data from box 3. So let's start from creating a context object using react.createContext first. We can also pass the default value over here, and this return context will give us access to the provider. And no need to pass anything to box 1. Also, I'm not gonna pass anything to box 2 as well. And over here on box 3, I will use context hook, which is useContext, to access the user data. I'm gonna display username text, and let's see if we can see it. I forgot setting default name to display, so quickly saving username with some data, and back to browser, and we can see the data in box 3. And the next question can be how to update this value. So there are two ways, using useState or useReducer. That's why the next video is going to be talking about the useReducer. So first, let's take a look at the updating value using useState here in this video. I was passing the default user data directly to the provider value prop, but now I'm storing the default username in the state and passing this username and set username to the value. And also modifying the default data structure including this setter function. And since I'm using TypeScript, I'm gonna add this setter in the interface as well. And now we have access to this username setter from box 3, so we can just simply use it and we'll update the value. For this, I'm making a button with a label, and clicking this button will update the username to Queen. It's gonna be an ugly button, but let me just make it field style, and it's time to test. So the username data has been updated to Queen by clicking this button. We can create one more box just to see if this value is being updated from multiple components, which are all descendants of this provider. So I created box 4, which returns username, and box 3 will return this box 4. And also have added typography in box 2 to display username. So yeah, now we can see that user data in box 2 and 4 are correctly updated. So we have created a context, stored the username data in context, and consumed this data without prompt drilling, and also we have updated this data. Next video, we will go through reducer hook and learn how to update data in context using reducer hook.